When you work with lights every day, whether that is commercial shoots, product work, interviews, or controlled cinematic setups, you stop thinking about wattage alone. You start thinking about size, heat, control, power options, and how fast you can move from one setup to the next without breaking the flow of the shoot. That is exactly the mindset we want to keep here, because the Zhiyun Molus X100 RGB and the Molus X200 RGB are not just two lights with different numbers. They are built for slightly different ways of working, even though they share the same design language. Let's start with how they feel in hand and on a stand. Well, this X100 almost feels unreal the first time you pick it up. At around 380 grams for the body, it feels closer to a large lens than a 100-watt RGB COB light. It is thin, flat, and compact in a way that immediately changes how you think about placement. You can put this in places where traditional COB lights simply feel awkward. We have taped it, handheld it, tucked it behind props, and mounted it in tight corners where a normal housing would block half the frame. That physical freedom matters more than people expect. On the other hand, X200 feels like a proper tool the moment you lock it onto a stand. At about 830 grams, it is still very light for a 200-watt light, but the presence is different. The body is thicker, the mount is native Bowens, and the whole thing communicates that it wants to be part of a more structured lighting setup. It still travels well, but it feels more at home once you start adding modifiers. Now, power is the obvious divider, so let's talk about that without turning this into a spec recital. The X100 sits at 100 watts, and in practice that feels very usable. At 1 meter, without modifiers, you are around the low 3000 lux range, and with the mini lens reflector attached, the output tightens and jumps in a way that feels closer to much larger lights. For talking headwork, tabletop product shots, and accent lighting, it has enough punch to act as a key, especially in controlled environments. We have used it as a main source in small rooms without feeling limited, as long as we stayed realistic about distance and diffusion. The X200 doubles that headroom, and you feel it immediately. With its lens reflector, you're comfortably above 13,000 lux at 1 meter, and with certain reflector setups, it can push even higher. What this changes is not just brightness but flexibility. You can bounce it, diffuse it heavily, or pull it back further while still keeping exposure where you want it. For interviews with larger softboxes, or product shots where you want a broad source without stacking lights, that extra power gives you breathing room. Both lights share the same wide CCT range, from 2500 Kelvin to 10,000 Kelvin, and that range is genuinely useful. We have matched tungsten practicals, late afternoon window light, and cool overcast daylight without fighting color. The adjustment feels smooth across the range, which helps when you are fine-tuning rather than jumping between presets. In mixed lighting environments, this range saves time, which always matters on paid shoots. Color accuracy is another area where both perform at a level that feels trustworthy. With CRI around 95 and TLCI close to 97, skin tones stay clean, and product colors hold up well in post. On the X200, Zhiyun also lists an SSI of 85 for daylight, and while that is a number on paper, the real benefit shows up when you mix it with other professional lights. We did not have to fight green or magenta shifts, which keeps grading simple and predictable. Now let's talk about RGB. On both, the RGB control feels mature. You can work in full RGB modes, HSI, or stick to white light without compromise. When we use them for background washes, rim lights, or subtle color separation, the output stayed smooth and controlled. Colors did not feel brittle or overly saturated unless we pushed them that way on purpose. This matters for cinematic work because you want color to support the frame rather than announce itself. The difference again comes down to scale. On the X100, RGB works beautifully for accents, practical simulations, and background elements. On the X200, you can start using RGB as a more dominant part of the scene, even through diffusion, without losing intensity. That opens more creative options when you want color to carry mood rather than act as decoration. Mounting and modifiers are another clear point of separation. The X100 uses Zhiyun's ZY mount, which keeps the light compact and balanced. With the Bowens adapter, you can still use standard modifiers, but there is no denying that this setup feels best with smaller, lighter modifiers. Mini softboxes, small reflectors, and focused attachments suit its character. It feels like a light designed to stay nimble. The X200 comes with a native Bowens mount, and that changes everything. You mount a 60cm softbox, a beauty dish, or even a larger parabolic, and the light does not feel stressed. We tested it with heavier modifiers, and the balance stayed reassuring. If your workflow already lives in the Bowens ecosystem, the X200 integrates without friction, which is something professionals appreciate immediately. Power options also shape how you use these lights. The X100 can run on USB CPD, DC power, or its detachable grip battery. That grip battery does more than power the light. It changes how you think about placement. Handheld lighting becomes practical, and quick setups feel effortless. At full power, you get around half an hour of runtime, which suits short takes, B-roll, or mobile setups. For longer sessions, wall power or a strong PD source makes more sense, and the flexibility to switch between them is valuable. The X200 leans more into professional power workflows. The integrated V-mount plate is a smart decision. Slide on a battery, and you are free to move without cables. On location, this matters. With PD 3.1 and DC options as well, you can adapt to almost any environment. The optional battery expansion hub extends runtime further, which suits longer commercial days. Cooling is something people often ignore until it becomes a problem. Both lights handle heat well. The X100 uses Zhiyun's Dynavort cooling system, and in use, it stays quiet and stable. The X200 uses an electronic back pressure cooling design, and even at higher output, fan noise stays controlled. In interview settings, this matters more than raw power. Well, neither replaces the other. They sit next to each other in a kit with clear roles. The X100 feels like a precision tool. The X200 feels like a compact workhorse. So, if we step back and think about choice, it really comes down to how you shoot. If your work leans toward mobility, tight spaces, and fast setups, the X100 has plenty of merit, as long as you stay mindful of power limits. If your work demands more shaping, more diffusion, and more output, the X200 makes that easier without sacrificing portability. Both feel designed by people who understand real workflows, and that is what we value most. They do not try to impress with noise or marketing language. They quietly do their job, which is exactly what good lights should do. And in the end, that is usually what keeps a light in your kit long after the excitement fades. That was all. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you found it helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more videos.